Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the wildfire stuff that was going on in LA. Some of the figures have come out and estimates of how much it's all going to cost. So, some of the estimate, they said that it's going to cost around 250 billion. And the question on everyone's mind is who's actually going to be paying for it? Well, I just saw this article, and it says that basically the bill is going to be split between local and federal governments, insurers, and residents. So can you see the last bit, and residents? So this is the this is the funny bit, right? I mean, they expect the residents to pay for it. I mean, can you believe this? I mean, some of these properties in LA, we're talking about millions. This was done in a very rich neighborhood. A lot of millionaires and billionaires live there, and Malibu as well. So they're going to be trying to take as much money as they can from the residents if they haven't lost enough already. Just to make matters worse, guys, a lot of the properties don't even have insurance because there was a couple of insurance companies which cancelled they they basically cancelled the policy just months before these fires took place because a lot of insurers, they don't insure much of those properties because of the fire risk. There's only a few insurance that will do it. And the properties that can be insured, a lot of the properties, and we're talking about 60% of properties, were actually not very insured. They weren't insured properly. So you're basically going to get a lot of residents who have actually lost their properties with no insurance, with no help. And this is an absolute shame, really. And there's a lot of theories going around that this was done on purpose. This was done by a couple of arsonists. Those who don't know what arsonist means, is basically people kind of creating these fires manually. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this is happening because, if you are a T, right? When I say T, you know what I mean, Terri. You know the people um, that do things out of evil intent to create as much horror and terror, if you know what I mean. So I can't say the word because I'm gonna get demonetized. So these people, instead of strapping bombs and causing terror that way, they can easily cause these wildfires all across Los Angeles and rich areas, and they can easily run away. They don't have to get caught. They don't have to be arrested. Apparently, there's a lot of videos going around by. There's a lot of people, manage to take videos of migrants or people who are of not American descent, immigrants maybe, who are causing some of these fires manually. So it could be that's one theory going around, and the other theory going around is actually this was done on purpose by the government, or some. This was done basically to destroy as many homes as they can in that area as basically a wealth transfer thing. So apparently, the real billionaires who have got properties, they would have kept their properties, but the ones who, the poor people who have had properties there for years, they would not have insurance because these insurance costs are just as expensive as mortgage costs. So because everything is so expensive, right? A lot of people who are not that well off but who've had the properties there for a long time, they wouldn't be able to pay for the insurance, because already the property prices is high, mortgage is high. So there's a lot of theories going around that these fires were created on purpose so these people lose their homes, and so basically the rich basically can create brand new homes in these areas and make more money. It's almost like a wealth transfer thing or an asset transfer thing. And they did the same thing to Hawaii as well. Hawaii, the same, very similar thing happened. Basically, a lot of people have lost their homes, and now the people who have lost their homes, that area is being redeveloped with brand new housing and flats, and they're selling it for very, very expensive prices. Real estate. So I'm not saying this is true or not, but I'm just saying these is kind of some of the rumors going around. So you can basically make your own conclusions from that. Um, a lot of celebrities have lost their homes as well. A lot of celebrities, for example, let me see. I think these guys, not this guy. Yeah, this guy, James Woods, Mark Hamill as well. Mark Hamill. So, so these two guys, I don't know if you follow celebrities, but these two guys were advocating for mass geno. I can't say the word again because again, the channel will demonetize me. Mass geno, you know what I mean. You can figure out the rest in Gaza, and especially James Wood. He said basically kill them all, and Mark Hamill basically said the similar things as well. And now they've been crying because they lost their homes. So some people can call that karma, you know. Basically, if you want evil things to happen to other people, don't be surprised if evil things happen to you. So some people call it karma. What goes around comes around, and I tend to agree with it. Really, if you have evil intentions and you want to destroy a group of people, then you kind of deserve what you get. To be honest, so I don't feel any sympathy or sorry for them, especially Mark Hamill. I mean that SOB basically destroyed my childhood because I was a big fan of Star Wars and stuff, but this guy has completely destroyed it. Never mind, I'm moving away, moving away from subject. So let's go to the next story. So the next story is basically it says here, did sending aid to Ukraine leave the fire department unprepared? So I don't know if you guys remember, probably most of you don't, but I remember reading an article saying that LA was giving away a lot of their equipment to Ukraine at the time during the war. And we're talking about millions and millions worth of equipment. And the LA department said, fire department said that they need it more than us, blah, blah, blah. And so obviously a lot of people thought, oh, that's a very nice gesture or something. But if you look at the clips, what's happening right with the LA fires, you're going to see a lot of firemen taking out fires with women's bags. I'm not joking. These are basically women's handbags. They were putting water inside women's handbags, and they were basically using that to get rid of the fire. So, I mean, if you guys got Twitter or anything like that, you're welcome to just do a search. LA Fire Department using women's bags to take out fire, and you're gonna see a lot of silliness like that. You're gonna see a lot of them doing silly stuff, and then the LA Fire Department have come out recently and said, "Oh yeah, we don't have the budget, we don't have the equipment, so we had to do with what we had." So if you don't have the budget or equipment, then why the hell do you send your equipment to Ukraine? Why? Seriously, it doesn't make sense. So I mean, it just one bad decision after another, guys. One disaster after another. Then there's a story about all their reservoirs were empty. There was no water in the reservoirs. And there's a couple which owns water rights. And this is a Jewish couple, by the way. and they said that they were not giving away waters to the for the fire department to use. It's just one disaster after another, and this is a first world country we're talking about. We're not talking about a third world country somewhere in Africa where there's no money, etc. This is a first world country, America, we're talking about, and they don't have enough money for the fire department to fight these fires. And this is one of the reasons why Americans are fed up, guys. I mean, this is why you have millions of people moving to RedNote, a Chinese app, because even though the government have told them, there's security risks, don't use Chinese apps. We're gonna ban TikTok because there's a security risk. We don't want them to get our data. And what happens? You have millions of Americans basically logging in, joining into the Chinese apps and gladly giving away their data because they're fed up and they're waking up. They're waking up because they go to RedNote and they see Chinese society and they realize they've been lied to. I mean, there's videos in China of drones taking out fires. There's hundreds of these drones taking out fires in buildings and stuff like that. And they don't have anything like that in LA or United States. Nothing like that. It's just if you're a fire department, you want to have the latest equipment. You want to have as much money as you can to able to do your job, right? Because if you don't, then the costs are going to be astronomical. And this is what's happened. 250 billion is going to cost to repair all the damage. But if they spent maybe a couple of billion to give that money to the fire department or fix the infrastructure, make sure there's enough water, make sure there's enough equipment, make sure there's enough firefighters, increase their salary, just spend a couple of billion and imagine how much money you could have saved. It just doesn't make any sense. If all they had to do was spend a couple of billion to kind of prevent fire getting this to this stage, and they could have saved 250 billion or 240 billion if let's just say if they spent 10 billion on the fire department or something. Guys, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So what's this story saying? So you got these articles basically reminding everyone. Remember when LA sent the surplus firefighting department equipment to Ukraine? I mean, seriously, it's just stupid. It's just ridiculous, guys. I mean, it's beyond words. So this guy's obviously crying because he's lost his home. But again, I have not really much sympathies for him. So let's talk about TikTok now, and all these years the Americans have been saying, do not use Chinese apps, do not use Huawei, it's a security risk. The Chinese are gonna spy on you. Do not use your fridge. They're gonna use your fridge to spy on you. Do not use a cooker. Do not use a teapot. The teapot is going to spy on you. All these lies you see on papers in the West. And what happens? They ban TikTok. And they ban TikTok not because there's a data breach or security breach or anything like that. They banned TikTok because TikTok was speaking the truth when it came to Gaza and stuff. So the Israelis wanted the TikTok to be banned because all the truth was being sent out to the world about what's really happening in Gaza. So they didn't want that, so they had to kind of ban it. So this is the main reason that they've actually banned it. Apart from that, TikTok has data centers in the United States. So all the data stays in the United States. They conform to every single regulation the United States gives to them. They give the United States hundreds of billions of dollars in money. That money goes to the American economy because lots of small businesses use TikTok to make money. So TikTok is actually good for the American economy, and we're talking about millions of people use TikTok for their business, for advertising. They're going to lose all of that revenue They're going to lose all of that hard work. I mean, imagine all these influencers have been building up followers all over the years, and they got some of them got millions of followers, and suddenly TikTok is going to be banned overnight. You know, you wasted all that time for what? So no wonder the Gen Z are absolutely annoyed, you know, with the government, and this is why you have millions of them moving to the new app, RedNote. I mean, it's not that new, but it's been around. But you have millions and millions of them moving to RedNote. Millions. We're not talking about a small number here. You know, we're talking about at least 10, 20 million of them, and every day more and more people are moving to RedNote. I mean, people rather have China to have their data than give that data to Facebook or X, because at the end of the day, right? X or Facebook, their data goes to Israel. I mean, everyone knows that. And I've seen people in X who get their names doxed, and their names, people are losing their jobs because the names are being doxed everywhere. Israelis are getting your name. Um, your life is being threatened. You get knocks on the door by police. I mean, I know where I'd shared my data with. I'd rather give it to the Chinese, and this is millions of people are feeling exactly the same. They don't want to. They don't trust their data with Israel, and this is exactly where Facebook sends its data to Israel and X as well. Everyone knows that. So this is why people don't trust the government, and this red note revolution it's absolutely scaring the kind of lawmakers. The Congress is absolutely they don't know what to do because it's not like TikTok. You cannot ban the app. You can probably ask Apple to ban it from the App Store or anything like that, but you cannot actually ban the app because it's not. It doesn't have the data center in the United States. It's a purely Chinese social media app, and all the data centers is in China. So you cannot really ban it. And if Americans want to use it, they can still use it. They can download it from a website or they can use a VPN. There's many other ways they can use it. So it's not like TikTok where they can, they can ban it because TikTok it's got its data centers in the United States and there's a lot of regulation. They can they can cut TikTok off in the United States quite easily. Um, the international TikTok Americans can still use using the VPNs and stuff, but yeah, yeah, it's a difficult one, guys. But it's just funny to see the revolution going on. I think for years, me, many other YouTubers have been trying to tell Americans and the West, that they are being lied to about China. All these lies about concentration camps and Chinese people are being oppressed. They're unhappy. China is backwards. All these like lies we had to kind of spread to the world and just spread to the West and stuff. And there's only a few people that were listening. But now, seriously, the government is doing the job for us. The government is basically, they are annoying the Gen Z population and the Gen X as well. They're annoying them so much that people just don't trust them anymore. And people are gladly giving their data away to China. They were like, "Here, take it." We gladly giving away data for free. This is, and this is why banning TikTok is just not going to make any difference. Uh, it's just gonna make the youngsters more angry. This is violation of the First Amendment. This is freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and they're banning it. They're going against completely against the freedom of expression, and it's all because of Israel because they do everything what Israel wants. It's all because of Gaza. They don't want the truth to be sent out to the world. They don't want people to know the truth about Gaza, about Ukraine, about China, everything. They want to control the narrative. It's got nothing to do with security. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's crazy, guys. Let's move to the next one. So the Trump admin, it's funny. TikTok's gonna be banned tomorrow, and Trump is gonna get inaugurated the day after. So TikTok's gonna be deleted from all the app stores and things like that for one day. However, Trump said he's gonna give a 90-day pause. Um, I think he's. I think the reason Trump is doing that is because I think he wants to use TikTok as a leverage, because he wants to. He said that he wants to basically add more tariffs to Chinese goods, and he's talking about adding 100% tariffs to EV cars, and Biden has said that, but Trump is also wants to do the same. He said he wants to put 60% tariffs on other goods coming from China, and also he wants to put 20% tariffs on goods coming from Europe and other parts of the world. So he's going to go tariff crazy. And I think he's going to use TikTok as a bargaining chip with China, but it's not going to work, guys. I mean, we know his trade war that he did with China was an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. 8 years ago, he started that trade war, and what has happened since then? Has he won the trade war? Famously, he sent out a tweet 8 years ago. If you guys remember, he said, "Trade wars are easy to win." That's what he said. His own words. When he started the trade war with China, he says trade wars are easy to win. You just put some tariffs in there, and that's it. You won. You won the war. That was his words. And look what happened. It's because of his trade war that America is in this mess. With the high inflation. Because as soon as you put tariffs on goods, and America buys most of its goods from China, right? Because China is the manufacturing capital of the world. That's where most of the goods are being made. So if he puts tariffs on these goods, then Americans are the ones that pay for it. And there's no other country that can compete. If you put tariffs on Chinese goods, where else are you going to get it from? There is no other manufacturing, country out there like China. So you're forced to pay these tariffs from China. Well, Americans are forced to pay these tariffs. This is one of the reasons why inflation is so high, is because of Trump. And because he started these trade wars with China, China started, it's like, it woke the dragon. It woke the dragon. China realized it cannot rely on America. So they started doing everything in-house. They started building products with 100% Chinese goods and labor, 100% Chinese technology. And it's made China what it is today. I mean, China today is a much bigger fish compared to 8 years ago. 8 years ago, when this trade war started, I remember when I had a YouTube channel, and I remember people were quite apprehensive. They didn't know how this trade war will end up, whether they'll whether it will affect China a lot, or whether it could turn into a hot war instead of a cold war. There's a lot of people who are a bit apprehensive about that trade war. But if you look back at it now, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to China. It's basically kick-started China's self-governance, self-determination. They've realized they cannot rely on America or American goods. So since then, they make everything in-house. They started making chips in-house. Rather than paying 600 billion for chips per year, now China exports 100 billion worth of chips per year. So they've saved, we're talking about, 700 billion they're saving, rather than buying from America. They now make their own, and now they make their own, and they're selling it to other markets around the world. So and soon as China figures out how to make EUV machines, it's going to be over. It's going to be game over for America, because that's the only technology that America controls that China doesn't have yet. But they will soon. They will soon. I mean, look at everything else. They've managed to catch up. We're talking the space technologies. They're caught up and doing even better. With AI, they're doing better. quantum computing, they are doing better. With 5G, with solar, with EV cars. I can name a lot more industries that China's doing better. And they will catch up with EUV sooner rather than later, over the next few years, I believe. And once that happens, it's over. It's game over, guys. There is nothing else the West can do or sanction China with once they figure out how to do that. So let's see what this 90-day pause is going to be. I think Trump is going to use it as a leverage, or he's going to basically force TikTok to sell. But TikTok's not going to sell. They don't, why sell to an American company and give away that technology? It's not worth it. TikTok has a huge international customer base. The global south, we're talking about, the global south and the worldwide users of TikTok, we're talking about, 3 to 4 billion here. We're not talking about a small number. American population, yeah, we're talking about maybe 300 million. But the global south, we're talking about 4 to 6 billion, including Chinese users, by the way. TikTok's not used in India, I believe. India's banned TikTok, but the rest of the world is pretty much using TikTok. Europe is using TikTok. And we're talking about 4 to 6 billion potential users of TikTok. Maybe half of that, to be honest, because a lot of people don't use it, especially the older generation don't use it. It's mainly youngsters. So yeah, maybe half of that. Let's say 1 to 2 billion. So they don't really need American users. I mean, America's the one that's losing out. If they ban TikTok, then that money, does not go into the American economy. TikTok will move its data centers out. And TikTok will not pay any tax revenue to America. They don't have to pay any creators in America. A lot of businesses are going to lose revenue. They don't have to have a data center in America. So TikTok will actually save a lot of costs by having its data centers back to China. And if Americans want to use it with VPN, they can use it. But, it's not going to be in America anymore. So it's just a lose-lose game if America goes ahead with the ban. But 90 days to force China to sell TikTok, I don't think it's going to happen. He might use it as a leverage with China, but China's not going to budge. He's not going to get anything out of China. So you can see here, Trump is looking to add more tariffs on China. 60% goods on China, he mentioned. You can see here. Again, China's not going to be scared. If America decides to tariff Chinese goods, China will do the same back, and China will buy American goods elsewhere. They don't really need America anymore because all the agriculture they can buy from Russia, Argentina, Brazil, South Africa. There's many BRICS nations and many countries in the global south, that China can buy stuff from. In terms of energy, they can buy unlimited energy from Russia, from Iran. So they don't really need America for energy as well. So what do they need America for? I mean, they don't even need America for any chips anymore. China makes its own chips now. So this decoupling is just going to be bad for America, to be honest, because there is no other market like China at the moment in the world. We're talking about 1.4 billion people. Huge number of the middle class. We're talking about 800, 900 million middle class Chinese. So they will lose that market. So America is going to lose out more than China, to be honest, if they add these tariffs. And you can see from this article, China's trade surplus has gone to over 1 trillion. So imagine a country where your trade surplus is over 1 trillion. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, 8 years ago, I don't have the exact figures, but I'm sure I remember it was something around 600 billion, or maybe it was around that, or 700 billion. And I never thought it's going to go to 1 trillion, because back then when the trade war started, I thought that maybe the trade surplus is probably going to go down because America's going to be decoupling with China. But the opposite's happened. Basically this trade surplus is becoming higher and higher and higher as China controls more and more of the supply chains. They are able to buy these supply chains for cheap. China has also got a lot of cheap energy in China. They buy a lot of cheap gas from Russia. Europe doesn't have cheap gas anymore, so all these pipelines are now going towards China. There's a Power of Siberia pipeline going from Russia to China supplying gas. They have oil coming in from Russia and Iran, um, which they trade in their own currency. They don't trade in the dollars. And labor is still cheap compared to the West. So it's very, very cost effective to make goods in China, and China has the best infrastructure supply chains, in the world. There is no country that has the infrastructure like China. You have high speed rail going from all major cities, so goods can be transferred from one city to the next. It can be transferred to the port, and that port can, go to another port as part of the Belt and Road. Or things can go via train all the way via uh, via the Belt and Road, a train going all the way via Russia, or it can go via Turkey into Europe. So there's many routes that China can take when it comes to delivery and supply chains. China owns most of the mines around the world, so all the raw materials that it needs comes from there. There is no other country like it. People say India, but come on, I mean, India. They've been saying India's going to be the next superpower for next last 20 to 30 years. It doesn't even come close. There's so many issues with India, and but I'm not going to spend more time, bashing India in this video. I'll leave that for another video. I want to take my time talking about India. But yeah, 1 trillion. Imagine what you can do as a country with 1 trillion surplus. And this money, China is not wasting. They're spending money wisely. They're building infrastructure projects. They're putting this money to make the lives of the Chinese better. They are spending it on, things that China needs. They're not spending it on 800 military bases around the world. They're not spending it on wars, giving money to Ukraine or giving money to Israel. All that money is being spent for good, for to make Chinese lives better. And plus, the 1 trillion trade surplus gives China a lots of ammunition when it comes to if there's a recession in the world, or if the dollar collapses, or if there's high interest rates coming out of America. There's a lot of stuff, economics, issues happening around the world right now. But all of this extra money gives China lots of leverage. They can decide what to do with this money. They can put it into they can put it into infrastructure, they can put it into banking, they can put it into finance, they can put it into stocks, they can put it into property. Having 1 trillion surplus and having that problem deciding what to do with it is a much better problem than having a 1 trillion deficit and not deciding what to do, how to make money. A surplus and is always better. Having a trade deficit, like countries like India have got a huge trade deficit with China and the rest of the world, and that's a problem because when you're in trade deficit, then your currency becomes weaker because you're having to buy goods from with other currencies. You're having to take out bigger debt to pay for goods, to pay for the deficit. Um, you, you you sell your assets, your country's assets, to big conglomerates and big companies to make up for the losses. There's a lot of issues if you're a country and you have a deficit, and sometimes some countries are forced to take an IMF loan as well. But if you've got surplus, you have huge amount of ammunition to do what you want with that money. And anyway, that's all for today, guys. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Do what you can help to help promote the channel. Every little helps, and really appreciate you guys. Thanks, and I'll see you soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.